Let me tell you a little story. He said, let my people go. Let my people go. He said, let my people go.
Shalom and welcome to Challenging Torah, a project of the Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue. Shalom and welcome to the ritual of the year. Yep, it's time for Passover, and this is our great sacred ritual, where we will clean out our houses and get rid of the leavening and go shopping and pull our guest list together, which looks a lot like last year's guest list because it's a ritual. Once you're invited, then you're invited all the time, right? And we go through a set process of the Seder. In the words of the Eitz Chaim, in their introduction to the Torah portion for this week, there is something deeply moving up about performing a rite that is older than we are, one that goes back beyond the time of our parents and our grandparents. The Seder ritual is 2,000 years old, and every piece of it is in its proper place. We don't eat the charoset at the beginning because we're hungry. We don't sing Dayenu as an opening psalm. We have a ritual, a pattern, a Seder. And we list the elements of the Seder before we begin. But every Seder with the same Haggadah is different because we are different people, because the little kids now grew up to be 13 years old and are no longer saying the 4 questions because somebody had a baby. We have a different meaning to the leaving of Egypt in our lives every time. But we tell that story within a set ritual pattern. Ritual holds our lives together. And so, as we look at our Musar process, Musar, also, this IJS, Institute for Jewish Spirituality, a study that we've been doing all year, designates one of its 10 Musar traits as Seder, order, because we need an order in our lives. In the words of Israel Salanter, one of the great rabbis, who was a rabbi that talked about Musar, everything needs to be first in its place before we can bring ourselves to prayer. Your prayer time needs a set place. Your Seder plate needs to have a set pattern of what. A roasted egg, oh my God, I forgot to get the lamb shank out of the, is it too late? And of course, there's a run on lamb shanks in your local Ralph's, because we need every part, and we won't just put down a chicken bone. We're looking to keep our rituals pure. The same thing with our own lives. If our lives are a mess, if we can't find the elements that we need to put our day together, if we are scattered, then we have little chance of bringing ourselves to an orderly assessment of our lives and to a place of freedom. Once our desk is clean, we're free to write. So Seder time is the time to clean your desk, but it's also a time to think about the Torah portion, which is about sacrifices. And Vayikra, last week's and this week's in Tzav, these are really the portions that lay out how do you do sacrifices. And at first we recoil, oh my God, sacrificing animals? We don't do that, that's barbaric. Now, first of all, everybody sacrificed animals, and this was the only time in biblical religions that it wasn't to feed God, but merely a korban, a way to come karov, close. We come close to God through a set ritual pattern. And we don't just sacrifice any old lamb out there on the prairie, but we bring our sacrifice to the temple, and it is done in a set ritual manner. Now, what was the purpose of the sacrifices? Overall, remember, God said, make me a place and I will dwell within them. And this is a way of us to reach God at that time by making a sacrifice, giving up something that's important to us. And if you could afford a bull, you brought a bull. But if you couldn't afford a bull, well, a male goat or a female goat. Okay, we're down to a sheep. All right, 2 turtle doves will do. None of the above. Bring me a little cake with frankincense on it. Skip the leavening. Leavening doesn't belong. Leavening is what puffs us up, brings ego. None of that is to show up. And each sacrifice has a pattern that is its own. First we have the two that are Asham v'chatat. These are the ones that are sacrifices that come from the place that, what I call the icky feeling. You're guilty about something. It was what they say, b'shgaga, inadvertently you did something. And you know it's wrong, and it's not going to go to court, and maybe you offended someone, and you do need to deal with that person, but now you need to clean up your act literally with God. We don't have a way to do that. The best we do is go to a therapist. Here, you take your lamb, you go to the priest, you put your hands on the lamb, and you say, I'm sorry that I inadvertently did, and then you say what it is, either aloud or silently. Sometimes you sacrifice the lamb, sometimes the priest sacrifices the lamb. In a very set pattern, the pieces are laid on the altar. There are offerings that are burnt offerings for guilt, that are when you've really done something, and is totally goes up in smoke. And then there are the offerings we call shlemim, which are the offerings of thanksgiving. And this is how people ate large meat meals. You didn't go to the supermarket. You sacrificed, part went to the priest, and then everybody gathered together and you shared with your family, especially on these 3 holidays where we went up by foot to Jerusalem. It was a time for celebration of giving thanks in our life. And yes, there is a ritual pattern, and you lay the lobe of the liver goes here, and the blood goes here, and okay, it's a pattern. On the other hand, I think about how just as they're going to anoint the priests with a dab on the forehead and a dab on the ear, and then when they sacrifice, the blood will go to the ear and even to the big toe. I think of these complicated handshake rituals that we do, right? We love to make a ritual in our life that says, I'm part of you. I'm a part of this. And so, if you are a part of the Jewish people, the ritual of this week is cleaning your house. There will be no leavening in all of your homes. So this is the time to start and to take it out of the closet, and there goes the pasta, and there we clean out all the leftover cookies that we've got here in the synagogue. And it's time to clean up for Passover. It's a great ritual. A ritual of spring cleaning. And then we prepare. We prepare all week. Our tables, our menus, our Haggadahs. We look for the extra little piece that makes this year's freedom within this pattern truly our own. Shabbat Shalom.
He said, let my people go. Let my people go.